Hey guys, Dark Bro here, and today before I get started, I just want to be clear, I'm not, for background purposes, I'm probably not going to be, showing like hyper amounts of data or not. I'm just going to do a basically talk through of how this topic would go. So if you're looking for data numbers, I can make a video on that just to provide some context if you guys want. But for this video's purpose, I will not. I'll just be going over some basic data points that I'm pretty sure every Dragon Ball person and One Punch Man person should know. With that getting out the way, yeah, here we go. So starting with number one, before we get this started, if you're a Goku tard or Saitama fanboy, which I love both, but basically here's the win conditions immediately for both of them. If you do feats, then Goku slaps Saitama silly. If you say Saitama is a unbelievable, undeniable, infinite power god, he claps Goku every day. So, with those two out of the way, because that's not how I will be explaining this at all, but if that's how you view either of the characters or how you pick the character's winner, there's your answer. Now, with that being aside, the reason why I also say you shouldn't do feats is because feats are they're kind of iffy and also a little bit dumb in this case. Comparing Goku or Dragon Ball to Naruto makes more sense because, you can show feats and they've both been out for a very long period of time. But doing some very basic research, which in a few searches you can find this information as well. The first Goku chapter of his manga, and this is the old version, came out in September 10th, 1985, while the re-release came out 2002. However, if you compare that to the first ever Saitama manga release, which is 2012 of June 14th, that means the earliest that Saitama has been able to get out was 10 years after the re-release of the manga chapter, and is not even including the old renditions of the Dragon Ball chapter. And if you compare the anime actually started on February 26th of 1986. Whereas the One Punch Man anime hasn't been released until October 5 of 2015. Several years, obviously, after the anime of both and the manga actually of Dragon Ball has been released. With this being said, if you really want to be actually fair about feats, because the manga has been out since 2012, which is 11 years, because it's 2023, even if you gave him a little bit of a buff and gave it a 12 years of Goku's beginning manga volume, that would only be volume 26, which is the Goodbye Dragon Ball World comic, which was the actual last comic before they started going to Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super, and was actually, no, I believe the beginning of Dragon Ball Z, which is also proof that if you actually wanted to compare feats-wise, even in all the first Dragon Ball World comics, the original with Toriyama and all of them, if you really want to be fair, then if you compared him to the newly Saitama now, who's had exactly 12 years to also get, or actually 11, but again, we're giving them a buff of 1 extra year, you see, then that wouldn't make it fair, because this version of Saitama would fold that version of Goku. However, that's why if you wanted to be fair about the feats, you see what I mean? People are comparing feats of, the beginning of Dragon Ball to the feats of him now in Dragon Ball. And again, just remember, Goku has had significantly more time to progress and more time to evolve than Saitama has ever had. And if you take their anime accurate understandings, Saitama has only taken 3 years to fully gain the power that he has gained, versus Goku taking upwards of, not, and this is if you include his child years, but even if you don't include his child years, he has taken more than 3 years to actually become the power that he has right now. And this is only if you include his adult amount of time. As you've known, you can tell and see the levels of difference by judging from the beginning of when Gohan and Goten were born to the amount of their age now, which means Gohan actually had to grow up while Goku was a complete and utter adult. Whereas, Saitama has only gone to gain for a few years. And when you compare both of those logics together, that technically means that Saitama has had way less time and he's become way more powerful, versus Goku taking way more time and being way more powerful, or fighting more powerful enemies, because we can't say for sure until they both actually fight until both companies agree to have them fight. You can't really say which one would win. Realistically, you can't definitively say one would beat the other until one of them shows a weakness that is super obvious that the other one would be able to clown on them for. Meaning, if you technically judge based off what both, animes have going for them in both mangas, then technically Goku just wins because he always has to learn some sort of new power-up to match his enemy or beat his enemy, whereas in Saitama's turns, he's never lost, and, he usually one punches everything, and it also hasn't really taken damage. So, yeah, with that getting out the way of why feats are bad, the reason why saying Saitama's an undeniable god is also bad is because there is no proof of Saitama, one, just being a god in general. In fact, there's more proof that he's a human than a god, just a human with powers. But obviously people think because of the fact that he's never lost or one punches all his enemies, that he has infinite strength just out the bat, unaccessible, infinite beyond infinity levels of strength, which is clearly not true, unless you're gonna also say for some reason he can also infinitely control his own strength, which is a thing he has outright stated he has sometimes just not been able to do. He even says whoops whenever he slaps something slightly too hard. And if he literally could just control it, he would be able to know exactly how much power he needs and just, use that exact amount. He wouldn't say whoops, because then he could control it, so there would be no need to accidentally use too much power. So therefore, that kind of goes out directly out the window. And also, as we know, he has hit things before that do not instantly stop existing, regardless of him holding back. Which means that even if you're holding back, if you have an immeasurable amount of strength and you can't control it all the time, then that doesn't make sense that you would just suddenly be able to whenever you hit something else. So as we know from the recent Garo chapters, this is just a fact that is true, that he is just not undeniably powerful, because otherwise he would have just one punched Garo and that would have been the end of it. He actually had to level up basically himself and get stronger in order to match Garo and beat him. So that's how you also know he is not just infinite strength, because that graph would have already had him at the very top of the beginning, and there would be no need for him to gain anything if he was already up there. Yeah. So for all those people that are like, oh yeah, Saitama's just infinite being that's just unbeatable, there's that one graph that every Saitama fan uses is proof of why he's not undeniably one punch. Okay, even though the move is called Undeniable One Punch, which is funny, also known as the Death Punch. But, as we both know, Saitama and Goku have both fought a lot of powerful people. Goku has fought planet level, multiversal level, and beyond, people that could even rival the angels. People that were also easily able to eat the planet, blow up the planets, even a punch that was able to literally hit in half of the observable universe, just with a wave, which realistically, that's not how wave travels, because sound cannot travel through space, but energy can. So we'll just pretend it was energy instead of sound, because people say it was sound. That's why it caused like earthquakes and stuff to move. Planets that like vibrate. But we'll get past the logistics of that. And the fact that he was even able to have a punch that was able to shockwave half the observable universe from the middle of it is proof that he has fought pretty powerful people. However, people that use this are usually Goku fans that are like, Saitama has never fought these people, so therefore he cannot fight these people. That is incorrect. Saying a person cannot beat a person just because they haven't fought that person yet does not mean you can say that person would lose to that person. That's not how it works. Like, just because, you don't see Iron Man fighting gods doesn't mean he couldn't. It just means he just hasn't gotten the chance to. So therefore, just automatically saying Goku wins because he's fought Moro or Beerus, or even if you really want to count it, damaging Whis, that's a pretty good feat, because Whis literally, as we've seen, has been able to even dodge people like Broly and beat people with ease like Frieza. So, being that that's the case, the fact that he was even able to damage Whis is a feat in and on itself. But even with that being said, that doesn't mean that Saitama wouldn't be able to fight these people. That just means he hasn't been given the chance to fight these people. As we know, for Saitama fans, there is a god, quote unquote, being introduced into the chapters. So as of right now, that's going to be start playing a role, so that I guess more Saitama fanboys can use that against the Goku fanboys that probably will not care, because they're like, Goku fought Beerus frame 1 and then got stronger than that at the end of the Battle of Gods arc by literally absorbing Super Saiyan God, which was better than his base. So, people, just letting you know, for those Saitama fans, they're gonna use that against you already, since they're already using it, because he's supposed to be multiple layers upon layers upon layers stronger than he was in the Battle of Gods arc, which is true. And 100%, do I think Saitama versus Goku would be a wash in any way? No. So, here's, kind of I guess, the ways that either side could win. And with that being said, the way I'm going to start with Goku first, because, I just have to get that out there so I can let all my fellow, Goku fans know this is one of the few ways that he can win without including feats, okay? Without including feats. And that is the first way of him winning, which is that, he's in his universe. Because if Saitama goes to his universe, even though we know he can break laws of physics and stuff, as we know, Goku is the main character of his own, universe. And if Saitama was brought there, I would not put it past anybody if they made somehow Goku just naturally learn something that just countered Saitama. Just initially, just out the right, just boom. Maybe he goes in TUY and that somehow counters him, and then Saitama just loses from there. That is 100% understandable and is a possibility of happening. Let alone maybe they make an excuse where like he somehow accidentally fuses with himself or something, or like gains double his own power immediately. That's not using the Kaioken, of course. There's also the second possibility of if Saitama's only able to take planet level attacks, then Goku he won't wash him, but he will most definitely body Saitama at the end of the day, because of the fact that Goku is multiversal, and in some cases high multiversal or multiversal plus, whichever one definition or term you use, he is that confirmed. So therefore that means that if all it takes is a planet level attack to fight Saitama, then in this case Goku can easily dish those out But as we know, Goku will obviously warm up to Saitama, because Goku, for any fan that says Goku would just clap, go TUI, MUI, Omen, that's not gonna happen. I don't know why people believe that, and if you're a Goku fan, you know for a fact that will never happen. He's never done that in his entire career. He wouldn't start doing it randomly now. So he would actually, warm up, which would allow Saitama to actually kind of gain some strength to make it more even. But if this is true, then in that case, at the end of the day, once he goes Ultra Instinct Omen, it is technically over by the Goku standpoint. There's no observable way we've seen Saitama been able to hit people that just have an ultra dodge, where they don't need to think, they just dodge automatically. So therefore, if you go based off that, then that's also another way Goku just folds Saitama. He wouldn't, and for those of you that think Super Saiyan are gonna just win, you're wrong. I'm sorry, you're just straight up wrong. But Omen, in this case, if you go by that logic, would beat Saitama no matter what, because we haven't seen him fight someone that can deal with that. Yeah, Garo can teleport and stuff and move around and weave, but Ultra Instinct Omen, not even mastered or TUI, can just dodge without having to think and dish out attacks and defend himself because he copied some of Jiren's own moves. So yeah, that's just the way that wins. You could just say Ultra Instinct wins is it by a form, and then boom, there he goes. Or he just beats him by, boosting of power, and then just by winning by being in his universe. Those are the three ways Goku wins without using feats. Is those three ways. Now, however, Saitama, I have to give it to Saitama fans as well, because there is a way that Saitama also wins these. So, number one, being the obvious one that I'm pretty sure every Saitama fan uses, which is the Saitama just outpacing Goku. Now, for some of you that do not believe that this would happen, it is a possibility. Again, if I haven't stressed this enough, it took Goku multiple days, and actually I believe even longer than that, to learn Ultra Instinct. Even though he's able to quote unquote master it, even though that wasn't a mastery, because then he still can't body, people that use it all the time like Beerus and Whis. So clearly it's a fake mastery, I guess you could really say. And he even learned TUI after, so clearly it's not mastered if he learned more things afterward. So some people think that because it took him, he can just naturally get, learn better than Saitama. Unfortunately, that is not correct in this case, because we have seen multiple cases where the enemy has just been better than Goku, and Goku does not just naturally within seconds just get stronger than that opponent. So for those of you that probably lied and said, yeah, Goku will just instantly learn how to, will outpace him, when Goku could probably out-train him and then outpace him, he needs to usually train in order to outpace his enemy. That's what happened with Cell, that's what happened with Moro, that's what happened with Jiren, and so on and so forth. He outpaced them because he out-trained them, and his training level was way better than their training level. However, in battle training and battle gaining of experience is completely different. Saitama's battle gaining is actually way higher than Goku's in almost every sense. So by a technicality, you could actually even say that graph thing where he just got 8 times better could actually work, since Goku doesn't just gain power from just fighting. That's not how it works. If that was the case, he would have just fought Broly the entire time and never fused and then won. Notice how he never did that. Same with Beerus, Whis, and any other stronger person than him. If that was the case, where he could just fight you, and Goku could just fight you, and as long as he's fighting you, he just exponentially gets better. In that case, that would mean that if he fought Broly, he fought Beerus, he fought Moro, he would not need help, because as long as he was fighting, he would just be better than them with time. But that's not the case with any of those battles, because clearly he does need to do training and actually, work on the gains to actually get significantly immediately better. He's kind of like Frieza. He needs to actually train in order to get better. He cannot just get better from fighting. He can get a little bit better, but that's not how Saitama works. Saitama just automatically starts getting better as he's fighting you. So, therefore, in that same scenario, again, because he's never fought a person that could last that level of time, if, let's say, theoretically, Saitama fought Broly, if Broly just kept fighting him, Saitama would just beat him even if he couldn't beat him in the beginning, because Broly would last long enough, and because Saitama would gain just from fighting instead of having to train, well, Broly doesn't. Yeah, he has power-ups and gets stronger by being angrier. His angry and strength gaining is not nearly as much as just basically breathing in and out air and it just automatically getting stronger. So therefore, by that scenario, Saitama could just outpace Goku if you go based off of that. Second scenario is the Death Punch. Yes, I say the Death Punch because people say that the Death Punch is equivalent to the Serious Punch. However, I would like to argue that that is incorrect. One, because if it was true, then how come when he Death Punches people, their perceptive of Saitama gets immediately altered to seeing a guy, giant face, bald face, and a giant fist. For example, we know that people like Saitama, or I almost said Saitama again, people like Genos, Boros, they don't really have fear, they have thrill. Especially Boros having thrill. And yet, if a character can go from making you see a bald man, just a basic bald man that you just want to fight, to suddenly being scared because a person is about to punch you, that's a perceptive altering ability. No one's ever mentioned that he just alters your perceptive of him, like a psychic level power, because again, that when he did the Death Punch, even on Genos, he was punching very slow, and especially if you go based off that cutscene was him moving at the speed of molasses, and all Genos did was turn around and be like, oh my god, he's gonna punch me, and it just sat there. And as we know, Genos does not usually shy away from just moving out the way, and if all he had to do was just kind of run away, it does not make sense that he would literally not be able to move unless somehow Saitama's Death Punch also causes you to be stuck exactly there, you cannot move, and you're done. And on top of that, people say, oh yeah, it's the Death Punch because it was able to create a crater in, the rocks and stuff, and create basically a chasm. However, saying that it's only planet level or chasm level, something below planetary or city level, is also incorrect. Because we've seen a regular Serious Punch part clouds, and yet later on, we've also seen it do more than part clouds. So therefore, the same move that didn't even hit, by the way, because he literally stopped it and just smacked him on the face. And didn't even actually hit him, because as we know, all that caused that entire chasm of rocks to just dissipate and cause the sky to change was all from just air moving. It wasn't even Saitama's fist. As we know, Saitama's fist is the actual damage dealer, not the air around his fist. Meaning that by technical standards, you could say that the death punch, because we've never actually seen it land, never, and it alters your entire perceptive with some sort of, I'm assuming, psychic ability. Because there's no way Genos was actually scared, since he's usually never scared of anything, actually. And was even willing to blow himself up, like, instantly with no fear. Just immediately just thought, oh yeah, let me blow myself up, as just an option. So therefore, it does not make sense to say, oh yeah, suddenly he was scared of getting punched in the face. And also was just so scared he just didn't move away from the very slow cutscene of a move that was coming in at the speed of a snail. So therefore, being the only way you could say that is if that move not only has, you know, probably the level that every Saitama fan would originally want, which is infinite, because it's not a measurable move. You can't say that it's done a significant amount of damage because he's never done the death punch. He's never done a death punch and hit something. He said serious punch, but that does not equate to the death punch. He literally called it a death punch. It's called the death. The fact that words come up and it says death punch and not serious punch. In fact, on no other move that he does a cutscene happen along with words. In fact, he pulls a kill by making words come up when he's doing the move. But on no other move do words just naturally come up, and does the perceptive of the enemy change. For example, when he does this serious punch while he's pissed and he's going to attack Garo sees a bald man coming to attack him. He does not see a giant fist and a giant face coming to punch him. He sees just a man punching him. This applies to every other character that's been hit with the serious punch. They only see the bald man. They don't suddenly see something different. They see a bald man. Yet every time he does a death punch, they do not see a bald man. They see a bald face, and that's it, with a fist coming towards him that's about to end their life. So by technicality, because this is the only move that he does that actually puts people into actual danger, to the point where they literally just don't take a step to the left or a step to the right, or just, get away by like teleporting or something, it's fair to say that this move is actually immeasurable until he hits something with a death punch. Therefore, you could say he beats Goku by death punching him one time, since it's never had a level of limit. And we do know that Goku does have a limit of what he is able to hold back. And for those of you that say he is limitless, then that would imply that he can never be stopped by an attack. That implies that literally every move that comes at Goku, if you're really just going to say he can stop a limitless move that's never been measured before, then that would also imply that any other move that was also technically like that, he should be able to stop with ease, which is not true because he's been hit with even weaker stuff. In fact, I would like to go and say that both characters do have gag portions, like how Saitama has been scratched by a cat, and people like to make fun of the fact that he's been scratched by a cat, but just to be clear, Goku has been shot with a bullet and it hurt him, and hit with a rock by Krillin. I just want to be clear that Krillin is a confirmed human that is not beyond that's not even multiversal level, and has thrown a rock at Goku, who was in Super Saiyan, and just the rock hurt Goku and left a mark. While and also getting shot with a bullet leaves a mark too, when a bullet shooting Saitama doesn't do anything except pink off him. So if you guys really want to go based off those gags, if you are a Saitama fan, you can just remind those Gokus, hey, look at that. Or Goku fans, you could always remind the Saitama people when they start getting a little too big for their bridges, hey, look at this. There's that moment where he got scratched by a cat. Yup. That happened actually twice. So I'm starting to think Saitama's weakness might be a cat, lol. But with the third and final way of Saitama winning is by the simple fact that technically we've never seen Saitama take damage. And I mean damage as in not scuffing, not getting dirt on you. I mean spewing out blood. We've never seen Saitama spew out blood ever. And he's fought people that were planet level. And even if you usually would say, oh yeah, planet level is nothing, just remember, if someone like 18, who is definitely planet level, could hit Goku and it would hurt Goku, versus a planet level being hitting Saitama and it not hurting Saitama, you see the difference? There is a way where a person could say that Saitama beats Goku because Saitama's durability is either infinite or so high that Goku is not able to damage him at this point. And you could even say that maybe he's just immune to all physical damages, which would still make it to where most of Goku's moves that aren't like the Kamehameha that are very slow, not effective against Saitama. So in this case, you could say Saitama beats Goku because he's just so durable, it's not able to hurt him. Which can work if you look at it from the fact that Saitama versus Goku is actually spewed out blood for lesser injuries versus Saitama never spewing out blood. Yeah, he's spit before, but spitting just means you got hit and you're like, ugh, and your mouth opened. It doesn't mean you actually were so injured that you're on a lifeline. As we know, Saitama as known is a human. As of right now, he is just a human that's gained powers. And he's only spit out blood because he was hit. Even one of the strongest people can spit out blood if you hit him in the stomach hard enough. But that doesn't mean they actually are hurt, because they can just look at you right afterward. So therefore saying because he spit out blood he took damage is a very far stretch. So yeah, but we do know he's just confirmed never spewed out blood. There's never been a time where an enemy has sliced him and he's just been spitting blood. And even when the cat scratched his face, yeah, it looked like he was bleeding, but I mean, red marks could be from the skin irritation as well, and from the claws, because sometimes I will get, scratched by my dog, and it will leave a red mark, but I will not be bleeding. Therefore, it could have been that, so you can't technically count that as blood, and it's also from a cat as a gag, from a gag show. So therefore, you can't really count that as oh yeah, he took damage there. Because again, you can just bring up, oh yeah, Goku got shot and it hurt him. Or he got a rock thrown at him and it hurt him. So, again, Saitama's never fought an enemy that's been able to draw blood from him, no matter what. He's chilled in the sun, which don't know if Goku could do, so that could also count if you don't accept that third one of him just never taking damage. We do know Goku's strong, but I've never seen proof that Goku would just survive if he was in the sun. Never. I've never seen it. If you can find me some sort of proof where not a sun level attack or planet level attack, where just Goku could just touch the sun and be okay, let me know. Because by the technical definition, since I've never seen him just able to go chill out in the sun, that could be a win condition as well. Saitama just grabs him, goes, hey bro, just don't teleport for 5 seconds, and then Goku's like, I'll accept the challenge. No teleporting? What are you gonna do? And then he just grabs him and leaps into the sun, and then boom, there goes Goku. So you could say that as well as a win condition, since he's technically never just touched the sun and been fine, but Saitama's been fine. So yeah, that's a technical win condition, and that's as of now because I've never seen Goku just been in the sun. And if you show me a fan-made comic, I will not include that. Like, that does not count. And in the pen comic, if I do find someone who has a legitimate, Dragon Ball comic that actually shows Saitama, or not Saitama, Goku able to withstand being in the sun, I will definitely pin it with the link. So if I don't see that, then therefore that means that no one could find that information, or it just doesn't exist. And so boom, there you go. With that being said, this is Dark. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out.